Good evening. I'll be your board game sommelier tonight. Will it just be you? Very good. No worries at all. In fact, some of the best board gaming experiences can only be had solo. Perhaps I could interest you in one of our new flights just for one that might help you expand your horizons? Very good. In that case, might I suggest? Hi, I'm Alex Hart, and welcome to Might I Suggest a Game, a channel devoted to helping you find your perfect board game. Today, I'm back with another board game tasting flight, but this time, it's a little different. See, I felt kind of bad after the last one, because what if you don't have someone to play two-player games with? I mean, I'm married, and that gives me a built-in board game partner, and still, there are some times where I can't find anyone to play games with. So, today's board game tasting flight focuses on solo players. Just because you're playing by yourself doesn't mean you're playing alone. There's plenty of us doing it with you. And I'm putting a little twist on it. All the games today are available on Tabletopia, one of my favorite online board gaming platforms. Now, I'll stop right there to say I'm not sponsored or anything from Tabletopia, but, if you know anybody there, put in a good word for me, will ya? So, with that being said, let's just dive right in. Will one of these solo board games be the perfect board game for you? Let's find out, shall we? The first game in our solo player flight is Orchard by Sideroom Games. Orchard is a true solitaire game designed to be played solo, but it does include a multiplayer variant with similar rules. Orchard only needs 9 cards and a couple of custom dice to make a really rich and puzzly experience that is so simple, yet so strategic, that gamers of any skill level will enjoy it. In Orchard, your goal is to produce different kinds of fruit and harvest them for points at the end of the game. To produce fruit, you will need to overlap fruit trees of the same color by drawing cards and overlaying them on top of one another. At the beginning of the game, you will deal out 9 cards to make a draw deck, and flip the top one face up to start your orchard. Then, you'll draw 2 more cards into your hand, and on each turn following, you will draw a new card until all of them have been placed in your orchard. When you place a card in your orchard, it must overlap at least one other tree of the same color on a previously laid card. When a tree of the same color overlaps, you will place a die of that color on that tree spot, with the 1-point marker facing up. Congrats! You just scored your first point. Each time you're able to add a same color tree on top of a space with an existing die, your point total on that die will increase up to 3 times. The most points you can score on a single space is 10. There may come a time where you're close to making a big combo, but there's just one tree that doesn't fit. That's where these 2 rotten fruit tokens come in. Place the rotten fruit token on the space with the odd tree out, and remove any die that was there previously. Then, proceed to add and increase the other dice as normal. On subsequent turns, you can't overlap any trees on top of the rotten fruit tokens, and at the end of the game, each token will count as -3 points. When you place your last card, or you run out of legal moves, the game ends, and you will score yourself on this punny scoring table ranging anywhere from Paul Tree to almost impossible. My favorite is Plumbelievable. Orchard usually only takes about 10 to 15 minutes depending on how indecisive you are. It makes a great filler to really get the brain working when you've got some extra me time. Maybe try it on your next boring hour-long Zoom call, but make sure you're muted. Orchard is a great game to remind you that you should probably be eating more healthy at home. I mean, with all the fruits and the berries in there, it's bound to count for some vitamin C, right? If you're the type of person to go apple picking in the fall, or if you don't mind playing solitaire without the cards that jump across the screen when you win, or if you're just looking for a nice card game filler to play while you're drinking your coffee in the morning, then might I suggest Orchard. The second game in our solo player flight is Calico by AEG and Flatout Games. Technically, Calico plays with up to 4 players, but this puzzly game is one of the rare times where I actually prefer the solo mode. In Calico, your goal is to sew the coziest quilt by drafting and placing patch tiles of different colors and patterns on your quilt board. At the beginning of the game, go to the back of the rulebook and choose a solo scenario. I'd recommend starting with number 1 and working your way up. This page will tell you exactly which design goal tiles to pick, which cats will be included, and any other objectives you are trying to complete. For example, in Scenario 1, you'll be playing with the 3 standard goal tiles, the cats Millie, Tibbet, and Coconut, and will be trying to get 58 or more points while acquiring a rainbow button. In addition to these objectives and design goals, you will also be looking to create different groups of patches. Groups of the same color help you acquire buttons, worth 3 points, and if you manage to get a button in all 6 colors, you'll get a bonus rainbow button as well. Groups of the same pattern can be used to attract the different cats, worth the amount of points indicated on their board. The patterns that each cat likes will be chosen at random before each game, and if you get the right number of pattern patch tiles touching, you'll get to take that cat from the supply and put it on your board. There's no limit to how many times you can acquire a specific cat either, so don't hold back. Get those cats! On your turn, you'll take one of the 2 patch tiles from your hand and place it on any empty space on the board. Then, you'll replenish your hand by grabbing one of the 3 tiles in the market to place in your hand. Be careful which one you pick though. In solo mode, after you choose a tile, you'll have to discard the tile that is furthest away from the tile bag before you refill the market with 2 new patches. Once your quilt board is completely filled up, count up all the points from your design goals, buttons, and cats. In a multiplayer game, whoever has the most points would be crowned the Master Quilter. But, in solo mode, you'll turn to the back of the rulebook again and check if you met all the requirements of your scenario. If you did, congrats! You too can call yourself a Master Quilter. Calico really makes you ask the question, how many cats is too many cats? I mean, if you're still in quarantine, another one probably won't hurt, right? If you're someone that's always cold and needs to layer up to walk across the bathroom floor, or if you self-identify as a cat lady and really wish you could knit a blanket of cats so that you could snuggle with the blanket and the cat at the same time, or if you're just looking for a nice, puzzly, and relaxing experience and still feel like you accomplished something at the end of the night, then might I suggest Calico. The last game in our solo player flight is Wingspan by Stonemaier Games. Full disclosure, this is one of my favorite games of all time, with any player count, but I think the single player variant deserves a little love, so here goes. In Wingspan, you play a bird enthusiast seeking to discover and attract the best birds to your collection of biomes. In the solo mode, you'll be playing against an AI player, the Automa, whose actions are determined by this small card deck. After each of your turns, you will reveal the next card of the Automa deck, and they will take an action based on the round that you're currently in. As the game progresses, the actions get better and better, so you'll need to stay on your toes if you want to end up on top. On your turn, you'll take one of the 4 types of actions and use one of your action cubes to mark which one you took. Once all of your action cubes are used up, the Automa will play its last turn and the round will end. You will then use one of your cubes to mark how well you did on the end of round goal track and begin the next round with 1 less action cube. Throughout the game, you'll be using your actions to build an engine that will help you gather more birds and accomplish both your personal and end of round goals. You can gain food, lay eggs, or draw more birds into your hand in order to take the ultimate action, Play Bird! When you take the Play a Bird action, you'll place a bird onto your player board on the leftmost available slot in its specified biome. You'll pay the required food and eggs and take any when played actions and then end your turn. One of the coolest things about Wingspan is how the actions on the bird cards chain together. Brown colored actions, which appear on the majority of the bird cards in the deck, can be activated multiple times. In fact, every time you take an action in the biome where these bird cards are placed, you have the option to activate any or all of the brown actions in order, moving from right to left. These actions will help make each of your action cubes count for more, so get those birds on your board early and often. The Automa will be playing a stripped down version of the game right beside you, but it's best not to compare your scores until the end of the game. When the 4th round comes to a close, you and the Automa will both be scored on end of round goal points, points on face-up bird cards, and points from eggs. The Automa will then also gain 3, 4, or 5 points for its face-down bird cards based on the difficulty level you've chosen. But don't worry, you'll get to score some extra things to help even the playing field. In addition to the points you've already scored, you'll also gain points for any bonus cards that you've completed, any food cached on your birds, or any tucked cards that you may have acquired during the game. When the dust clears, if you end up with more points than the Automa, then you take the title of Best Bird Enthusiast. Wingspan is a game for the people who sip their coffee while looking out the backyard window, hoping to see a new bird fly across their path. If you own more than one bird feeder, or if you're the person in my neighborhood that keeps giving the crows shiny things so that they keep coming back, or if you're just the type of person that wants a beautiful yet challenging and incredibly thematic experience when playing a solo game, then might I suggest Wingspan. Thanks so much for checking out my new board game tasting flight. I hope you all enjoyed it and get a chance to play some of these games solo. But now it's your turn. What are your favorite solo games, and what kind of flight would you make? Drop them down below in the comments, because I really do read every one. Thanks so much for all of your support, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so I can continue to grow this channel and keep helping you find your perfect board game. Once again, this has been a Might I Suggest a Game production, and I'm Alex, your board game sommelier, signing off.